Hello everyone, welcome back to Apollo Art Analysis. This episode we're going to be taking a look at a piece by the career 3D artist known as Jared Pike. This episode we're going to be talking about this extreme isolation here. We're going to talk about the Vaporwave Aesthetic, and we're also going to be talking about the immensely influential Dream Pool series. So let's jump right into it. So whenever you first see this work, our perspective appears to be within a single room here. We see 5 arches on the left side, and we see a little bit of kind of subtractive reliefs up in the ceiling as well as the wall there as well. And it is a very bright introduction. It certainly catches the eye, and there's no doubt that light really drives the work at hand here. So we see the source of light, very bright source from the left side, really comes in and lightens the piece. Of course, we have this incredibly vibrant kind of turquoise blue-green color there, and then those really kind of sterile and really extremely white tiles add that extreme sense of reflection as well. So those are all very important. Of course, it awakens the viewer, it catches us, and it's almost impossible to look away, especially these brighter tones. Those are certainly catch the eye, and we're kind of just left in awe at the work before us. And so with this in mind, where do you guys think here? We do see, of course, we have what appears to be a single room. We have those tiles on the left side, and we're standing, it looks like we're standing straight in the water here, so it's quite interesting. So where do you think we are, and what do you think this is exactly? And so with this in mind, we are looking at something that has a little bit of influence from the Vaporwave aesthetic. And so what I mean by that, let me grab 2 pieces here. See if we can go like that. Close as I get. So the Vaporwave aesthetic, why is that important? So we see so many different things in the Vaporwave aesthetic, whether it's the kind of Vaporwave pool, whether it's that really clean tile aesthetic. Even in the piece yesterday I was talking about, we saw a statue as well alongside the pool and those tiles. So there's a lot of different elements to the Vaporwave, and most importantly, it's normally looking at the late 80s or the 90s aesthetic. And so I was actually watching a video on Jared Pike's Dream Pools. This guy did an incredible analysis. I'm going to put it in the description if you guys want to check that out. But he found this piece, and it was actually from an 80s pool. And so we see those tiles, that kind of blue-green turquoise color as well, certainly indicative of the aesthetic that we're looking at here. Really good reference there for sure. And with this in mind, it is a very clean aesthetic. I think this is a little bit darker than this one, and this one really shows that bright aesthetic a lot better. We certainly see those tiles, that kind of turquoise, and it is a very clean, it's a very sterile, and a very kind of pristine aesthetic for sure. So we certainly see that. And with that in mind, there is kind of a sterile surrealism that I see here. Of course, it is not literal surrealism. This could be a real place. Someone could, create this very sterile aesthetic. Someone could create this room, create this very vibrant pool. So it could be a real place. But I say sterile surrealism because it feels surreal. It feels like this isn't exactly a real place, even though it perhaps could be. So we certainly see that very sterile, very kind of pristine and clean visual experience, even to the point where it's unsettling. And so we also see with sense of isolation within the work at hand. So for example, if you look, we obviously don't see any people here. This is a pool, so you would expect maybe some people to be swimming by, maybe a kid, maybe some elderly, just having some fun in the pool, but we don't have any people within the canvas here. So it is very vacant. It is very isolated within our perspective for sure. And there is a sense of danger within the work at hand. Of course, we looked at the surface of the water. It is a very calm scene, but it's not perfectly still. It is moving slightly, whether it's from us or whether it's perhaps from someone else that we don't see. Even that gives a little bit of unsettling themes as well. Or even maybe maybe even the room is so big that there's currents going in throughout. It's hard to say for sure, but regardless of that, it is a very sterile and kind of surreal scene within the work before us. It's very vacant and it's extremely unsettling. And so what I also want to talk about is the idea of the liminal space or the dreamcore aesthetic. And so first off, the liminal space is at their most literal are spaces of transition. So a hallway, kind of a walkway, anything like that, an archway, all the steps, those are all liminal spaces technically, and we can kind of refer to that. And the liminal space has a lot of similarity with the Dream Pool series. And we're going to go a bit deeper into the Dream Pool series here in a second. Let's see if I can, too dangerous. There we go. So the Dream Pool aesthetic, why is this so important? Well, it's popped up in many liminal space aesthetics as well as the Dreamcore aesthetic. And so we talked about the liminal space, and now we're going to talk about the Dreamcore. The Dreamcore is very kind of surreal and unsettling. So whether it's this source of light, whether it's the vacancy, whether it's this endless kind of texture and tile, it's surreal and it's quite strange as well. So there is this unsettling nature to it that does lend to the Dreamcore aesthetic, as well as the liminal spaces, whether it's steps, steps, archways, everything in between. And so what I also want to talk about is Jared Pike's Dream Pool series. So this is a piece coming from the Dream Pool series, and I have another one that we have also talked about in the past coming from the Dream Pool series as well. So on the left, you can see one of the earlier works. I believe this one came before this one. This was one of the first works I ever showcased from Jared Pike. Really, really love his Dream Pool aesthetic. Like we talked about, he's mixing that vaporwave with the liminal space, and then also kind of that dreamcore aesthetic where it's very unsettling, it's very vacant, and it's these kind of strange sources of light that almost seem endless. It's all very intriguing and very interesting. And so Jared Pike's Dream Pool series has seen immense influence. He started it in late 2020, so December of 2020, and not until about 2021 and then really in 2022 was when his art truly blew up. So since I would say late 2021, we've seen an incredible amount of influence. So many artists have taken his aesthetic into their own digital rendering medium of expression to create their own scenes and kind of evolution on top of his original aesthetic. So in many ways, Jared Pike has started an entire movement. And at this point, some people are even calling it a Poolcore movement. So we had the Dreamcore, and now people are calling the Jared Pike kind of deviation from the Dreamcore aesthetic as the Poolcore. So the Poolcore can be a combination of the liminal, the Dreamcore, and then specifically you need the pools within there as well. So very interesting, and I'm actually considering, since I've written about so many different of these pieces, I could even release a Poolcore specific gallery. So we're going to see if that catches on and people keep using the Poolcore definition, and then I'm going to try and make it official by making an official gallery room. So I'm heavily considering that for sure. And so finally, we're going to talk about the digital rendering medium of expression. So a digital rendering provides extremely realistic kind of virtual simulations. So we certainly see that here. Of course, this is not a real place. It could even deceive some into believing these are real places, but we have this incredible sense of realism, whether it's the reflective water, whether it's the shadows. All of this does feel quite real, and the digital rendering is really what allows that to happen. So all very important if you guys want to create your own pool aesthetic, create a digital rendering, whether it's in Blender, Cinema 4D, so many different options you can choose. So hope you guys enjoyed today. We talked about the Dream Pool aesthetic, the immense influence since, say, late 2021. Also talked about the Vaporwave aesthetic, talked about this extreme isolation here, and a little bit about the backrooms as well. This is part of that backrooms or that liminal aesthetic. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, go check out the original artist. It's going to be Jared Pike. He is really doubling down on this Dream Pool aesthetic, and it's hard to say exactly what will happen, but we already see an incredible amount of influence, an incredible amount of virality from the Dream Pool series. So hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys learned something. My name is Apollo. This was Apollo Art Analysis, and I'll see y'all on the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like to support our work directly, please check out our Apollo community tokens. Apollo Art Exchange is an ecosystem of art appreciation which elevates artists each and every day. Thanks for listening.